So this week's episode of The Shield here, we get introduced to the slave dynamic that is going to be present in this series, and I have to say I really enjoyed how they portrayed Raphtalia as well as Naofumi, and because a lot of people, I know there's the controversy of, oh, they got slaves, there's the false rape allegation, all this stuff. It's not about what subject matter is used, it's how you use that subject matter. Look at Game of Thrones, one of the most popular shows on TV, and that has way worse subject matter than anything that we've seen in the Rising of the Shield hero. What I like is how Naofumi is actually presented to the viewer, because from episode 1 he was very much presented as kind of like the generic main character, but there was nothing overly bad about him. He didn't strike you as he was a scumbag, he seemed like an overall decent guy, and when the world bit him in the ass, the only person who showed him any sort of kindness would be the blacksmith owner, and that's why he repaid his debt. He definitely seems like, even though he's very bitter, he's very, he hates this world because the world screwed him over. They brought him here against his will and essentially tossed him to the curb and said, hey, also, you still need to fight. Anyone in his situation would be as pissed off, but I don't think many people could still be a decent enough person to those who don't screw him over. And the way he treats people who aren't overly rude to him or just don't give him a reason to actually make him be a douchebag, he absolutely responds as a normal and genuine person. The fact that Raphtalia isn't going to be someone who's just a slave who's going to be used and manipulated and beat around as he just gets his resentment and hate out towards the world on someone who can't fight back. No, it's, I need weapons. You're going to be my weapon. He's in a world where slavery is legal, or at the very least, you can participate in slavery, which was something around medieval times that was a big aspect. Just because we don't have it in our own time doesn't mean you can't tell a story with it in it. A lot of people seem to take morals of today's standards and say you can't apply it if it goes into a story that goes against your own beliefs. The entire point of a story is to tell something that is different. And I like how you have a character who, even after being so screwed over, he's not just going to use and manipulate someone who hasn't done him any wrong. He sees a girl who essentially was screwed over, lost her family. He is going to give orders when she disobeys, but after kind of opening up and kind of seeing how she is presented, he doesn't force her to do things that truly go against something that she's scared of. Like, she's very scared of blood, she didn't want to fight the monster at the end, and he canceled his order because he's not some generic white knight protagonist. He sees, this is a girl who clearly hasn't done me any wrong, I'm not going to force her in this situation if she's not ready. At the start of the episode, he's saying, I order you to do this, and if she goes against order, it hurts her, because he does say, you are my weapon, and that's what you're going to be used for, because she kills, he gains experience, they can get through this together. But over the course of this episode, they really built the relationship and bond, I think, really, really well. You're just seeing this relationship of course, a girl who essentially had a family, who loved her and just gave her everything she wants, and when the first wave hit, she lost everything and essentially went to a master who, based on the slave owner's conversation, was very, very bad towards her. So of course, as you see a guy who's essentially feeding her an actual lunch, buying her a ball to play with after they're done training, there's no reason why she wouldn't do things for this guy, because essentially he's treating her with actual compassion and kindness. Of course, yes, he does look at her as a weapon, but hell, if you're being treated as a weapon and you're getting this type of kindness, I don't think many slaves in this world are going to be having that much of a heartache. Really curious is if the spell that kind of binds him is going to be there forever, or if maybe down the line that spell will just go away because she is just a loyal companion and maybe he can break away from it or something like that. I'm very, very curious the direction they'll go, because right now, seeing how he was kind of treating his slave, it doesn't actually feel like a slave anymore, more of a mutual understanding, a weapon with a personality. But I really like how both of them, just the way they opened up together, because there's so many people being like, oh, he's buying slaves, he's such a scumbag. A guy got screwed over by a world to the absolute point, he needs weapons, he's weak, absolutely buy a slave. That's the best option he can go with. And I like the idea of how the Shield hero has these tales that demi-humans, he actually treated demi-humans really well, and I assume that's probably because the Shield hero was looked down upon in this area, and most likely because there is racism in this world. You can definitely see no demi-humans, we won't feed demi-humans. The fact that the Shield hero and the demi-humans kind of share that in common, it wouldn't be surprising if that's why he was so nice to people who are lower in status than pretty much the general folk. And I do like the idea of the underdog rising to the top, because he's starting off as the weakest of the heroes, and like any story, he's clearly going to become the strongest of the heroes by the end of the show, if not in the middle of it, who knows exactly when. So I like the idea of how they're getting him to the top, having to use other party members, and because the girl in the first episode screwed him over, he didn't get any experience when she did anything. Like, it's very interesting how this entire dynamic is functioning, just seeing the leveling up of the shields, feeding monsters to it to get these new abilities. It's really cool with how the power system is almost working. It's a game mechanic system, but almost works like a power system because of the shield mechanic and the party members, and just, it was nice seeing these montages between Naofumi as well as her, because you're seeing these actual genuine interactions. He's not trying to gain anything. He's seeing like, well, she's with me, I'm going to feed her, I'm not gonna beat her. Like, what would this guy gain by beating her? Someone who can't fight back. He's not a douchebag. He's someone who is screwed over by the world, and if you're a decent person to him, he'll be a decent person to you. And I like the idea of him in this blacksmith kind of relationship, because the blacksmith sees he's a genuine guy, so he's not going to shun him away or make fun of him. That's why he's always there to support him. You know, I'll sell you the weapons, I won't shun you away. He gave him that cloak at the end of episode 1. Like, I like the idea of a guy who is so bitter with the world, who does want revenge on those who wronged him. He has a duty, he has to take out the ways and kind of be the hero reluctantly, but also he's obviously going to gain genuine companions and friendships along the way, and he's only going to care about those who actually are decent to him, which is a really interesting dynamic, something you don't get to see a lot of, especially in a series like this. Isekais generally are just the hero doing no wrong and everyone loves him, so having a world against the hero and him only liking a select few people, that's really interesting. I mean, there's always going to be controversies with anything with more touchy subject matter. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, it's not what subject matter is used, it's how you tackle the subject matter. And like I also mentioned, you have shows like Game of Thrones, which are as mainstream as possible and have way worse subject matter than anything we've seen in this show so far. So I don't know, people get upset, I don't really care. This is the last I'll ever mention of the controversy. I just don't care. I like this show. It's probably going to be one of my favorites to review this season and next season. It's really fun between Naofumi as well as Raphtalia. Like, I love it. The voice actors are Sokta and Mai from Bunny Girl Senpai. You can't beat that, especially if you know how much I love Bunny Girl Senpai from last season. The visuals are great. The voice acting is absolutely top notch. Have to say, for delivering a slave performance to slowly realizing that, hey, I might actually be able to live a decent life, the voice acting performance was absolutely phenomenal. And I have to say, if I wasn't told that this was Sokta's voice actor, I wouldn't be able to tell, because he's delivering such a brutal and just very kind of depressed but not overly edgy performance that really sells this guy who's been wronged by this world and is just looking for a way out because screw this world, I want to go home. Absolutely loved episode 2. Incredible episode. Visuals are holding up. I love the overall character designs, the movements, and I can't wait to see how these characters are going to level up and what other characters will join his party in the future. Let me know whatever you thought of episode 2 down in that comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate? Your favorite moment? Whatever you're feeling, let me know. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and also hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.